morning, everybody. It's so nice to be here and to see so many familiar faces and to meet some of the new folks, especially the students, since I've been gone since 2013. So obviously I left before you got there. So you made a great choice to come to Hillsborough Community College, and I thank you for making that choice. I was a full-time faculty member, as you just heard, at HCC from 1980 to 2013, teaching mathematics at the Ybor City campus and in cross, there you go, and in cross enrollment at USF at the Tampa campus. I pioneered the offering of online mathematics courses for HCC as well. And I'm currently, as you heard, the co-chair of the 50th anniversary celebration. It was easy to say yes to this invitation. Thank you for the invitation, because I feel like my life has paralleled HCC at so many important milestones. So I'm going to, including the 50th anniversary that we just talked about. I also, and my husband, are having a 50th anniversary this year. So it just kind of fell into place. So for this morning, I thought I'd pick up some highlights of HCC's 50 years and tell you what was also happening with me during those 50 years. It's kind of interesting when I started to think about it. In 1968, HJC, Hillsborough Junior College, became the 27th junior college organized in the state of Florida. The budget was $1.1 million. Tuition was $7 a credit hour. There were 16 charter faculty members, 6 full-time administrators. Now look at that balance. And 70 adjuncts. The charter class had 1,625 students. So if you can remember all those, I'm going to ask you to recall them, give you a little quiz in a minute. So on December 28th of 1968, Bob Fox and Liana Fernandez walked down the aisle at Sacred Heart Church. And we got married. We were still in college, just both a couple of months shy of, actually 1 month shy of turning 22 years old, but still full-time students. My father, my Cuban father, gave his blessing, but he took his fiery dark eyes and looked straight into my much larger husband's baby blue eyes and said, "If she doesn't graduate, I'm going to kill you." So we did it. We got married, went back up to FSU, and I finished one more quarter. And then, of course, graduating in March, you don't find teaching jobs then. So I went down to the state office and took every test I thought I could qualify for a job. And I passed Statistician 1 because I had had one statistics course. I qualified. And they put me at the State Road Department, it was called then, now the Florida Department of Transportation. And I became their statistician and helped design highways and I actually counted cars. You know, they had those little meters that gathered all the data, and they brought it to me, and I analyzed it and then gave them advice as to how many lanes should go here and there. And one of my claims to fame is helping with the redesign of Rickenbacker Causeway down in South Florida, because President Nixon lived part-time on Key Biscayne, and Secret Service had to have expeditious entry and exit off of that. So my one claim to fame at State Road Department. So in 1971, HCC's startup struggles paid off, and we got our first SACS accreditation. Liana and Bob gave birth to their first child. Unfortunately, we had bad timing because we had come back to Tampa, and Bob was hired by Host International just in time to open the Tampa International Airport. He was the food and beverage director for all of those airsides and the restaurant and everything except CKs. I don't know why he didn't have CKs, but he had everything else. So as you can imagine, long hours, and there I was with a newborn baby, and it was rough. All right, in 1972, the classrooms at HCC that had been housed at Hillsborough High School Center moves to the old Tampa Airport. And on our side, my husband starts to teach there at the old airport for HCC in food and beverage. What else? He didn't have his master's degree, but there weren't many people walking around with any degrees in hotel and restaurant management, and Bob had that. And Host International wanted to be involved in Hillsborough Community College, so they said, Bob, we want you over there teaching a class. And so he did, and enjoyed it. So even before I was a member of HCC's faculty, he was. You didn't know that, did you? Okay, and I started teaching at Tampa Catholic High School at that time. In 1973, that's the 5th anniversary of the college, the Dale Mabry Humanities and Science Building was completed, and the articulation agreement for USF and HCC began for students to cross-enroll. Now, that's not dual enrollment. Dual enrollment means when they're in high school and they take HCC classes. Cross-enroll means that they can, as USF students, enroll in HCC, and that counts towards their full-time equivalent. So that's what was going on at HCC. In 1973, we bought our first house in Temple Terrace, oblivious to how important that location was going to be for us in the future. In 1977, the Ybor campus was completed. Yes. And I began teaching part-time there, hired by my mentor, Dr. Sandra Helen Wilson, who played a very big part in the rest of my life. And I started working on my master's because I didn't have it yet. So I was teaching part-time and working on my master's. And by this time, we have 2 children. So in 1980, Ambrose Garner becomes president of HCC, and he remains there until 1983. At that time, I have completed my master's, and I'm granted a full-time HCC position, teaching at Ybor and also the cross-enrollment courses at the USF Tampa campus. So remember, I'm already in Temple Terrace, so this was working. You should also know that, I don't know what year it was, so I didn't put it in the timeline, but at some point, because I was going back and forth so much between Ybor and USF, they gave my office away. We were tight for space, so I didn't have a home. And they finally, I just screamed and yelled so much. Who was dean? I can't remember. I think it was Paris. I think it was Paris. No, it was Paris. And I said, you know what, this isn't fair. I'm going to look up the union contract and find out what I'm supposed to. Well, of course, I'm supposed to have an office with a locked door and a file cabinet, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, they found me an extra large broom closet on the first floor. And because I wasn't there very much, there was no phone in the broom closet. But anyway, that was my home on the Ybor campus at the beginning. In 1983, Dr. Palumpus becomes president, and he remains until 1996. And at that point, in 1983, we took a big step, too. We built a new house, and we decided to stay in Temple Terrace because I was more and more at the USF campus than I was at the Ybor campus. In 1988, that's the 20th year of HCC, there were a lot of great things happening, but one I must mention is that the Galleria, one of our publications, wins the Associated Collegiate Press Pacemaker Award. Many more of these types of awards for HCC publications are realized under the direction of journalism professor Nancy White. And she passed away just recently, and she was a dear friend. She passed away at 94. And you know, we never knew how old she was when she retired. She wouldn't tell us. But now I did the math, and I think she was 81. Who teaches till they're 81? I don't know. Okay, in 1992, with encouragement and prodding from Dr. Wilson, I began pursuing my PhD. And using the tuition reimbursement plan from Hillsborough Community College, it would take me 6 years. And when I realized I couldn't stop working in order to go to graduate school, I said to my Sicilian mom one day, I don't know if I want to do this, Mom, because of course she was going to help me with the kids. It's going to take me 6 years, doing this part-time. So the Sicilian logic kicks in, and she says, okay, how old are you going to be in 6 years if you don't do it? Okay, so I did it. In 1997, Gwen Stevenson becomes the president of Hillsborough Community College. She brought with her such grace and such professionalism. It was the first time that I can remember, maybe I'm wrong on this, but that we had a relationship with AACC, the American Association of Community Colleges, a wonderful national organization that now recognize HCC as being a force in the community and in the nation of community colleges. And from there, we benefited in many, many ways. Now, here's something you probably didn't know. In 1998, that's our 30th anniversary, in October, John Glenn becomes the oldest human to travel into space, and he took with him a tilapia experiment from HCC's aquaculture department and students. It's amazing, just amazing. So he traveled into space, and in 1998, in October, my dad traveled into heaven. So we lost my dad, but it was not until he saw me graduate. So he took with him the knowledge that I did graduate 3 times. And that time, my family and I decided that we would start the Frank Fernandez Endowed Scholarship at Hillsborough Community College. In 2008, that's the 40th anniversary, there was moving in and moving out. The Dale Mabry Hawks landing was completed, so the students began moving in there. And then moving out, that was me. I signed my drop papers to retire in 5 years. But 2 years later, in comes Dr. Atwater. He becomes our president, and he begins to acknowledge a role for faculty, a public acknowledgement of role for faculty that had not been acknowledged before. He established a seat on his cabinet for a faculty union member, namely the president, and that was me at that time. And we'll always be grateful for that voice at the table. Thank you, Dr. Atwater, for that. In 2013, that was the 45th anniversary. Unfortunately, Gwen Stevenson passed away. But my mom passed away that same year. And HCC was there like family. I mean, all the administration came, faculty union people came, faculty that weren't union people came, students came. I just felt completely supported by the wonderful HCC family that I've gotten to know, and I hope you will get to know as well. So that year we added her name. So it's now the Frank and Rose Endowed Scholarship for HCC student. In 2018, that's the there's where we are now. It's the 50th anniversary. So we're here 50 years later, and we're planning a celebration. Our enrollment is now 43,905. Do you remember what it was when I told you the first year? Exactly. Y'all are good. You were waiting for the quiz, right? Okay. The opinions are still out on this. I think we're 6th or 7th in Florida for FTE enrollment. Our budget's $124.8 million. Do you remember what it was? Yes? You're good? Okay. Tuition, do you remember what it was? Now it's $104 a credit hour. We have 1,299 faculty and more administrators than I want to count. 312 of those faculty are full-time and 987 are part-time. I'm taking this from the fact book, so that was last year. It might be a little different now. So we've done a good job at HCC, a darn good job, keeping up with the changing needs and demographics of our community. Nearly 1/3 of the graduates from Hillsborough County schools enroll in our programs each year, and our student population is more than 56% female. The foundation has awarded, as you heard, more than $10 million in scholarships and awards nearly 800 students with scholarship support every year. All 5 of HCC's campuses are now Hispanic-serving institutions. HCC is majority minority, with more than 50% of the students representing minority populations, including 27.7% Hispanic. Among the nation's more than 1,200 community colleges, HCC ranks in the top 2% for these following things: the number of nursing degrees awarded, the number of associate's degree awarded to African American students and also to Hispanic students. Top 2%. Of those students who continue to a four-year institution, 74% go to USF. And as you heard before from Gary, the foundation has awarded more than $10 million in scholarships since inception and awards nearly 800 students with scholarship support every year. So what's my point? I take it from John Lennon's lyrics in his song, Beautiful Boy. Life is what happens to you when you're busy doing other things. This history that we just ran through has kept us busy, real busy. But you notice I didn't mention any struggles or challenges or failures we had along the way. There were a lot of those in 50 years, both for HCC and for Bob and Liana. Like when we designed a building for the Ybor campus that was 15 feet too tall for code. Hello. Nor did I tell you how many times our mainframe crashed repeatedly during registration. All faculty nod their head. Yes, and staff, because you had the same problem. I wouldn't exactly call those failures, although they were pretty frustrating when they happened. But last Tuesday, I heard an extremely successful movie producer, Will Packer II, speak at USF about failure and how it fired him up and made him want to be successful even more. He publicly thanked his parents. His father's deceased, his mother was present, for being there for him because he knew even if he failed, they were going to prop him up until he was ready to get back in the game. The students at our college need to continue to be encouraged and sometimes prodded to work harder, stretch for their goals, and try their best. But most importantly, they need to know that it's okay if they fail, as long as they get back up and go at it again. The Fernandez Foxes did it, stumbling several times over 50 years. I promised my husband I wouldn't tell you what those were, but we always knew that our family had our backs. No one ever called our stumbles failure because they had stumbled too. For many of our students, this college, with its dedicated faculty and staff, is the only one to have their backs. Their completed degree or certificate is their way to climb up the ladder of success and become self-confident. We are here to help them get back up and at it again. And that's where you folks come in, our supporters and encouragers in the community. Not only does your financial support for scholarships support our students, but so do your apprenticeships, mentorships, work-study plans, coming into the classrooms as guest speakers, and also providing professional development opportunities for our faculty. It all adds up. This community has supported our college now for 50 years. And whew, what a ride. We've experienced tremendous growth, success, and struggles all those years. But soon we will begin the celebration of a golden milestone. We invite you to join us in the celebration of the life of this college that happened while we were busy doing good things. I'll close with a very simple message on behalf of our students, faculty, staff, and administration. From the bottom of our hearts, we sincerely thank you, and we'll see you at the party.